Alright guys, we are back to doing another sentence surgeon together. This sentence this week is really good about proper nouns. We have proper nouns and a lot of prepositions in this word. In this sentence. So I want you to take a second to pause and make sure you're looking at all of the words in the sentence and trying to figure out which ones you think are proper. So remember, proper, you can think fancy, the way things are supposed to be. Proper nouns are nouns that are special names for things. If you're using a proper noun, then that means that anybody in their head could picture exactly what that's supposed to be like, or it's showing you that it's supposed to be a special person, place, or thing. So I want you to look through and see all the places or all the things in here that are proper. Okay, and some of the spots, and I actually had to look this up myself, is in this date. So the whole thing actually, the numbers and year included, are actually all one proper noun. So I'm going to do this whole like swoopy bracket looking thing, and I am going to say proper noun above it, November 2nd, 1958. So anytime that we have a date with a day in a year, we need to use a comma to separate those two things. If we don't use a comma to separate them, then it's too easy for all the numbers to blend together. So you have to use a comma between the day and the year of the entire date. So another proper noun is the special name of the person that's the subject of the sentence. And his name is Izthak. And we'll read this book this week, so you'll get to know him a little better. But his name is also a proper noun because he's a specific person. And then the last one that's in the sentence is the phrase the Ed Sullivan Theater. That's a very special theater that they're referring to. So it's also a proper noun. So this is a very specific date, this is a very specific person, this is a very specific place. So all of those are proper nouns. And one other thing you should notice about them is that they're all capitalized. You should always capitalize proper nouns. Right, so let's get started with the rest of the sentence. So the very first word of the sentence, on, that is a preposition. Preposition. And if you remember, a preposition is a word that kind of gives some positioning within a sentence. So the position is this specific date that we have. So on that date, Izthak sat on the edge of the Ed Sullivan Theater. Okay, once again, we see the word on again. So that's still a preposition. Preposition. Okay, so if he sat, that's an action. It's something that he did. So this is a verb. And because it said that he sat, not sit or is sitting, that's past tense. It happened in the past. The word the is an article. These are really short words that are good fillers in the English language. And the edge of the stage. The edge of the stage is a very specific part of the stage. It's a thing. So we're going to consider that a noun. And then the word of is another preposition. Preposition. Oh, and we have the again, so it's another article. So interesting to see that we have a preposition and an article, a preposition and an article. And the preposition and the article lead up to a noun. Preposition, article, noun, preposition, article, proper noun. Interesting pattern there. All right, so smiled. Smiled is an action that happened in the past. So that's also a verb. The past tense verb. So we'll just put verb for now. His broad smile. So his is a word that's replacing the proper noun. The proper noun should be Izthak. Sorry, I'm still learning how to say his name. So instead of saying smiled, on November 2nd, 1958, Izthak sat on the edge of the Ed Sullivan Theater, smiled Izthak's broad smile. Instead of saying his name again, they replace it with the word his. That's a pronoun. Broad smile. So smile, sometimes it's an action, but in this case they're actually talking about how it is on his face. So it's a thing. So it's a noun. And broad is describing his smile. And broad means big or wide. So he has a wide smile. So that is describing, it makes it an adjective. He propped his violin under his chin. So if you prop something like propping a door, that's an action. So another verb. His, again, just replacing his name. So Izthak. Oh, I almost wrote Izthak. Okay, pronoun. Violin is an object. So it's a thing. It's a noun. Under his chin. Okay, so under would be showing the positioning. So under is another preposition. His, once again, it's replacing his name. So Izthak, it's a pronoun. Chin, it's a thing on his body. So it's a noun. And began to play. So and is combining all of these little phrases. So and is a conjunction. Began to play. Began is an action. So it's a verb. To, it's positioning what he was doing. So it's another preposition. And play is another action. It's a verb. Alright, so we got the whole sentence down. So I'm just going to use a red marker to circle every time there's a comma here. So we have on November 2nd, 1958. Okay, so that is a prepositional phrase, and because it's like putting us in a place in time. After we're done here, we need to have another comma right before we talk about the rest of the sentence. He sat on the edge of the Ed Sullivan Theater. Then he's doing something else. So this kind of turns into, at this point, a list. So every time there's another piece of the list, we need to do a comma. So he sat, he smiled, he propped, and began to play. So you guys see, this is a long version of a list, but it's almost like we said that at the grocery store, he picked up eggs, cheese, and bacon. And if we were writing that, we would have a comma each part of our list. So like eggs, comma, cheese, comma, and bacon. We just have a longer list, and each of those items on the list has a longer sentence. There are actually several spots where they have prepositional phrases. So like on the edge. Oops, I made that a little blocky. Of the Ed Sullivan Theater. Under his chin. And to play. I'm not going to underline that. So we also I almost forgot to add the type of sentence. So we're going to look at the punctuation at the end. It's a period. So that means it can either be a declarative, where it's just a basic sentence, or it could be an interrogative. Oh, sorry, not interrogative. Imperative, which would mean that it's a command. This is not a command. Nobody's telling him he has to do anything. These are things that he's choosing to do. It's just a list of things that he did do. So this is just going to be a declarative sentence again. Womp, womp, womp. We do a lot of those. That's because most sentences actually are declarative. All right, and the subject of our sentence, so what every action is about, the person doing every action is actually Izthak. And in some places it changes to the word his, but he's the main subject of the sentence. So there are several things that he does. So there are several predicates that he has. So he sat, he smiled, he propped, and he also began. Sat, so Izthak sat, he smiled, he propped, he began. It just doesn't use the pronoun each time. But alright guys, this was a slightly more complicated sentence than normal, but it still isn't too bad. I feel like you guys are hopefully really learning our parts of speech, and before long, maybe you can do this completely by yourself too.